Every day, something jars you out of that abiding position. And it depends how grafted you are on how much that it's going to affect you. So if I just got a big toe wrapped around the tree and half of my body is in this worry, half of my body is in this rocky sea, that's the Peter moment where he falls below the ocean because he took his eyes off Christ. But steadfast peace, transcendent peace that passes all understanding, that doesn't exist in the emotional roller coaster that the world would have you go on. And so the critical element of creating a homeostasis in your emotions is not to deny your emotions. It's to recognize that they're not always true. It's to recognize that your story that you're telling you probably has elements of fallacy. There's probably pieces that are lies, that are literally bonded from generational curses, from tradition and religiosity, from limiting beliefs and the dang liars of the devil that haven't been fully stripped. And this is why abiding and pruning will always go together. Let me say that again so you don't forget. Abiding and pruning will always come together. If someone is not willing to be pruned, I would beg to say they're not abiding. Oh, I'm going to ruffle some feathers there. No one's made it. No one has it all. No one has all the wisdom of the word. No one has all of Jesus. Moses wasn't even allowed to see all of God. Why? Because it makes him reliant on Christ and Christ alone. So if I'm not willing to be pruned, if I can't hear anymore from the Holy Spirit himself when he wants me to shift or change or release or let go or cut off or sever or set a strong boundary or forget or forgive or any of these pieces that feel sometimes really hard, last year I was in this disappointment phase. And I know God was pruning me and he was being so tender with me and he was allowing me to go at his pace. And I didn't have to just forgive or release instantaneously, though he's forgiven me in that way. He allowed me to work through the emotion of it all because I was being pruned and the pruning hurt. And he knew that. So in the process of pruning, God is always restoring. Let's go again. This is so good. In the process of pruning, God is always restoring. I just saw crepe myrtles. Are you familiar with crepe myrtle, the tree? I do not have a green thumb. The fact that I can even recall what that tree is called is literally thanks to my mama, who does have a green thumb. She's amazing. They're these beautiful trees that blossom every spring. I can't remember if they're the ones that stink, though. There's this one tree that we used to have growing up when we would go underneath like this beautiful archway in our neighborhood. But man, it smelled like dead fish for a good 3 weeks. It was so gross. But then the trees would fall. They were like white and it looked like it was snowing in the spring. But then the berries came afterwards and they killed your windshield in your car. It was terrible. Hopefully those aren't crepe myrtles, but if they are, now you know the fullness of them. So every winter around this time, January, February, you actually trim, you literally take off, you sever the entire tops of the tree. It looks like you just kill them. Like they look like half-grown stumps now in the tree. And there's no way that massive bloom is going to come back in less than 2, I think they bloom in May, 3 months. No way. But God is always restoring when he's pruning. And he's got a plan and he has a process and it's a part of his business ecosystem that in May, these will bloom. And in May, these will be cut down. It's a cycle. It's a life cycle. It's a journey of becoming. And when we think about all of that connected to how we serve the kingdom business model, you've got to get into the mind, the will, and emotions and know that when you're being pruned, God's not mad at you. well, he might be a little frustrated with you. I definitely have had moments where I'm like, sorry, Lord, no brimstone, please. But that's not our God. That's religion to believe that, right? That's a total lie. But to know that he is a jealous God. He is a jealous God, and he does see abomination when abomination is occurring. And he does get angry. He does. As much as he loves you, his emotions have all of the same emotions that you feel, God feels. We are made in his image. The difference is God can control himself. God can control them, and we are not so good at it. Emotional intelligence is the process of self-identification through the lens of the Lord, following then what he would call us to do in response with that emotion. If you're grieving, how do you grieve? Right? If you're weary, how do you rest? If you're frustrated, how do you forgive? Oftentimes forgiveness is to ourselves, and then it's not even about the other person anymore. It doesn't matter if they say sorry, if they come to you to apologize, it doesn't matter. You can forgive even from afar. It's a huge process. But when we think about this fully in context of business, people don't realize how directly aligned the business ecosystem of your LLC, your S Corp, your Inc., your nonprofit, your ministry, it is no different. The principles are exactly the same. And so if we are forgetting that all of this comes to play for our soul to prosper, we are not abiding, and therefore we are sitting now on the cultural knowledge cycle, the rat wheel of humanity, living in our flesh, forgetting that it's not hard.